Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to my very first metal tag video. Now, the Rock Scout came up with this idea, for the metal tag video, I think a couple of years ago. I never got around to doing one, and obviously last year I didn't either. But here I am now. So the Rock Scout came up with this one, again, very similar to the vinyl tag. However, again, I did the vinyl tag once, and I kept it that way. But the thing that I like more about the Rock Scout's metal tag is that, for one, it's definitely more based toward, geared towards the metal fan. However, it is also, let's say, the questions for each of these metal tags for each year are not the same. They are not always the same. They are at least a different question, which is a great thing, because that was the one I hated that about the vinyl tag. So that's why I never kept on doing it, because I just would be repeating the same questions, and I just couldn't. But thankfully, he comes up with different questions for these metal tags each year. So honestly, I just like that. So there we go. Now, I just want to elaborate on a little something to you as quickly as I can. Now, for the Rock Scout, when he kind of started out his video or something, he kind of mentioned the fact that what if the metal tag is used as someone's introductionary video, meaning, to the YouTube community, basically their very first video. And Darcy639 Lives kind of elaborated on that pretty good as well by saying that if this were to be someone's very first video, what would be your advice to that person on how to do their first video, how to do a metal tag or something like that, what would be your advice? All I'm going to say is, very quick and simple, be yourself. That's about it. Let things flow, and things will be very good for you. You'll be confident, and that's all I'm going to say there. So, be yourself. Since there's 20 questions in here, well, I got to get going with this. So, let's get on to the very first question, which is False Start album, an album you struggle with at first, Berguda-like. The first one that comes to mind here is Crusader from Saxon. Didn't care for it first when I first listened to it some years ago, but probably because of the fact that it's more cleaner sounding. They really started to strip away a lot of the things that I liked about them early on. That early sound. They're kind of stripping away a little bit, and you kind of can see the direction they're going to go afterwards. However, it's just compared to some of the ones after this one. It just did not hit me the same way that some of those other Saxon albums did, So for years, it didn't hit me in a lot of those kind of ways. However, over time, though, especially most recently, I've now come to actually appreciate Crusader. Still, I love the song Crusader and a little bit of What You Fancy, because those at least sound like classic Saxon, but really, it just never hit me the same way that some of those other Saxon albums did. But again, I like it now more than I did then. But that's probably because the production just very much so almost overproduced. It's just so clean sounding and kind of robbed a little bit of that edge. But now I like it. Still, it's far from my favorite. So there it is. There's my False Start album, Crusader from Saxon. Now, on to question number 2, which is album with war themes / lyrics. The album that I'm going to mention here is Firestorm from Ambush. There's actually 2 songs on here. It is actually Molotov Cocktail and Heading East. Molotov Cocktail actually deals with the song, let's say, in the perspective of, let's say, the eyes of a Finnish soldier who was at war with Russia in the 1700s. With Heading East, it deals with, I think, Russia. I didn't really get who they were fighting against, but at least takes place in the 1800s, maybe the late 1800s. So it's definitely Russia in war and battle in like the 1700s and 1800s. So there you go. There's my picks for that question there. So Molotov Cocktail and Heading East, both from Ambush off of their debut album, Firestorm. Okay, so on to question number 3, which is most influential metal musician to you in the last 10 years. I don't have those albums with me right now because of, again, me moving from Susanville to Fresno here, I didn't able, to bring all of my album collection with me, so it's a very condensed collection right now. But I do have to mention this band, and that's Bullet, because I've got some of their albums, and it's the founding guitar player Hampus Kling. I just love his style, and me being such a guitar player myself, a musician, his style just resonates with me quite a bit. I just love that style, mixture between Accept and AC/DC. Though they just, since Dust to Gold, they just really play on that sort of Accept metal sound, and I just love it. So he's just been my most, again, influential metal musician to me of the last 10 years. So there you go. That's, again, for that question there. So question number 4, band on your to see list. There's a lot of bands I want to see. My big band would be like AC/DC, but there's a lot of other factors I can go into, price and everything. In fact, there's not a stadium here in Fresno that would I think, hold such a stage show like AC/DC and all of that. It would. But to kind of bring up some other alternatives, I'd love to see Overkill. I know they got a new album coming out, but man, I would love to see them. And that would be it. I know that was Darcy's pick, but that's also my pick. Man, I'd also love to see Bullet as well, Ambush, Airborne. I know they came to California, but they only hit, I think, LA and San Francisco, and they skipped over Fresno. But again, those are just the ones I can think of. So Overkill, Ambush, Bullet, whatever. So there we go. Let's get on to question number 5, which is an album that energizes you. A very nostalgic one for this one. That's Flick of the Switch from AC/DC. It just brings back a lot of childhood memories too for this one. But I love this album. I know many people will probably pick an album from the Bon Scott era or Back in Black. I love those albums, especially like Back in Black, and of course I love the Bon Scott era stuff, just as much as the next guy. But Flick the Switch it's just one of those albums that I just love it, and it just brings back a lot of great memories for me. And for the last couple of days, I've been dealing with a bad cold and everything, and this is one of those albums that just lifts me right up, and just lifts my spirits up, and makes me more confident with the day. So there it is. That's my pick for an album that energizes me. So Flick the Switch from AC/DC. Now, on to question number 6, which is Big Freeze. Show a snow or ice album cover /song/lyric. What I'm going to show here is another album from Ambush, and that's Infidel, the most recent album from 2020. As you can see, the mountains in the background are all covered in ice and snow, and of course, you got snow on the ground. So, and right now, it's the only album in my collection that really kind of fits that description. So, there it is, Infidel from Ambush. Now, on to question number 7, which is a song title with royal ties. Now, the reason why the Rock Scout came up with this question is because last year we sadly lost the Queen of England. However, we also gained in return the King of England. So really, we're kind of coming up with the song titles, that's got either the words King or Queen, in them. And these are the 2 that I can think of right now that I came up with. One of them is actually kind of creative in a way. But first one here, Pretty Maids with Red Hot and Heavy, their debut album. Again, this is there's a good album. I know I was kind of struggling there because I'm kind of going on as fast as I can. But there's a song title here titled Queen of Dreams. So that's pretty much my pick for a song title with royal ties. So Queen of Dreams. And the alternative song here, that's like a bonus in a way, is off of this album right here, which is Kings and Queens from Axel Repel. But there's no song title that's titled Kings and Queens, but there is a song called Take the Crown. Now, if they're familiar with the ideas of, a king and queen or anything, or just stuff that's affiliated with the king and queen, they have to wear a crown. So, and since the queen wore her crown, I pretty much had to be buried in a way, I think, with the crown or something like that. I think, in a way, the song title, Take the Crown, I think kind of fit this as well. So, in a way, it's just a very creative bonus addition to that question. So, there you go. Now on to question number 8. A predominantly green album cover. This is one that was sent to me last year from Paul of Doomsday Records, but right now it is Funeral Sex with the Gods But the Demons on Earth. Very gothic, sort of stoner rock, and that kind of Alice in Chains meets Soundgarden kind of sound, but again, very gothic-like in the tone and the atmosphere. But the album cover, as you can tell, is a very predominantly green album cover, so that's one I kind of picked for this question, so there you go. Now let's get on to question number 9. An album released in 2021 that you bought but have not listened to this year. There really isn't. Most of the albums that I buy to begin with, I pretty much listen to begin with. So if I get it in, I put it on. So there really isn't an album that I bought in 2021 that I just never got around to listen to. However, there were definitely plenty of albums that some people did send me in 2021 that I have not got around to listen to. So there's that. But again, it's not albums that I bought, but I do have some albums in my collection that I've just never got around to listen to. So there you go. Now, on to question number 10, which is best find of 2022, old or new. Now, I got this around, was it Black Friday Record Store Day last year, and this was a fantastic find. But what I'm talking about is the Sign of 4 from Blacklist. Their only EP, released in 1984. It's a band actually that's based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Just great old school heavy metal. For years, I think I've been to almost every single record store in Fresno for the past 10 years, and not one record store, whether it be they were still around or just, disappeared now, especially in the Tower District, I just never seen anyone carry this record, and I've just been looking for this one for years. So I popped into Raging Records for the very first time on Black Friday Record Store Day, and there it is, within their stack of metal records for $30, which is the cheapest I actually could ever find this out in the wild. So I thought I was expecting, to see this be placed for $50 or $60, given the I guess the rarity of this record to some extent. You go on to Discogs, this will go up for like $60 or $70, possibly even $100 at times. So it's just to find it for $30. I'm like, you know what? That is a good price I'll pay. So I walked out of that record store with one of my holy grails. So there you go. That's my pick. The Sign of 4 from Blacklist. Now, it's on to the next question here, which is question number 11. New band / album discovery of 2022. I'm going on with Midnight Hellion. This is their most recent album titled Kingdom Immortal. This is actually a band that I actually caught live, and obviously these opening up for Anvil at the Fulton 55. This was also one of my favorite albums of 2022. It also made it onto my list, and it's a great album, great band. So it's just one of my favorite discoveries of 2022. So Midnight Hellion. So on to question number 12. An album sold to you by a song. That's very easy. I'm going with From Dusk Till Dawn from Trapezact. Known about these guys for years, but for some reason, something turned me off about them. However, if I knew about the fact that they had ties to the band Scarab, who had that one 7-inch released in the 80s, they were a new wave or British heavy metal band. It was the 7-inch, I think it was titled Poltergeist, and the B-side was Hell on Wheels. And so when Scarab, I think, broke up, the singer of that band, Paul Britton, ended up joining this band, Trapezact, and they recorded this album in 1990, and it didn't get released in 2012 through High Roller Records. And at the time, it was a Heavy Metal Rarities forum. A lot of people were just raving about the sound, but for some reason, something turned me off about it. I don't know what it was. But again, just last year, I just was thinking about some albums that High Roller had released back in 2012 that I just never got around to getting, because I got that Rolling Like Thunder comp that from Scarab, that High Roller released. And so the minute I found out that this had ties to Scarab, I had to go and find a copy of this one. And I think I checked out a song first, and the song was 1 a.m. DOA, and it sold me. It sold me, so I ended up finding a really good sealed copy on eBay through the original Heavy Metal Mausoleum on eBay. So there it is. I just had so it's a great album. Definitely sounded more like Iron Maiden in 1990. So more like Iron Maiden than Iron Maiden was. So if you like Peace of Mind and Power Slave, or even some like Angel Witch and all that, because I do get some Angel Witch vibes from Trapezzat. Definitely check out From Dusk Till Dawn from Trapezzat. Alright, so on to question number 14, which is 23rd album. Question number 13 now, which is most anticipated album in 2023. There's a lot of bands that are releasing are going to be releasing some good albums this year. Anyways, there's going to be some great ones. So I would say my most anticipated would be from Killer from Belgium are going to be releasing an album this month. Uriah Heep is releasing an album this month, and I know Overkill, like I just mentioned, they're putting out a new album this year, and I'm really looking forward to that because I love anything Overkill releases. And also, who else? And also Judas Priest. I know that they've been working on an album for the past couple of years or so, and hopefully they release it this year because I love Firepower. So bring on the more Judas Priest, So those are pretty much my most anticipated albums, is basically Judas Priest, Killer, Uriah Heep, Overkill. I know there's some other ones as well, but those are just the ones I can think of. So there we go. Now, finally, back on to question number 14, which is your 23rd album on your shelf. Since, again, I don't really have shelves, I got like cubbies and everything. I pretty much, for this question, I had to go the Cloudy Melder route, which is just go from your collection from alphabetical order. So this is what I landed on. This is my 23rd album in my collection, and that's Forged in Fire from Anvil. Classic album. I don't really need to say much because you probably already know it's a classic album. But there it is. And of course it's going to be really reaching its 40th anniversary this year. So that's great. So there it is. My 23rd album on my shelf for something, Forged in Fire. Now let's get on to question number 15. The last album that has gone into your collection. That's easy, and I showed this one most recently, but is the recent Shadow Kingdom Records reissue of Bulldozer's debut album, The Day of Wrath. Classic album. It's definitely more in that Venom vein, so it's just very raw, very crude, very rude sounding stuff, and I just love it. So, just great stuff. So there it is. That's my most recent addition to my collection. Bulldozer, The Day of Wrath. Alright, let's get on to question number 16. A random pull from your collection. Well, since I think my collection and stuff, I've got my metals, most of my metal stuff, as I think is, as you can see, hopefully you kind of can see it, but there it is. That's my current, most of my metal stuff, and then on, hopefully I can get this very, but this bottom there is the continuing collection of my metal stuff. My the metal collection continue, and I also got some CDs over there too. But the thing is, most of those are all my AC/DC CDs, and over some of there I've got my Udo stuff. So to kind of really be easy and stuff with this, I really kind of need to really figure out which ones I'm going to go. So let me bring you over here instead. And alright, so here we go. Being very interactive with you guys. So this is basically, again, most of my metal stuff, but again, that little bottom cover that I showed you is all my metal stuff continued. But again, most of that stuff is pretty much the Udo Dirk Schneider stuff. So I'm just going to go from here. I'm going to pick a random pull from this portion. So here we go. We'll see. We'll see what comes out. Just showed this recently too. Funny enough, it's a Shadow Kingdom reissue as well from 2022, but they debut from Pile Driver, Metal Inquisition. So that is, I guess, a random pull for you guys. And great album, though. I know that it's got drum machines, whatever, because it was kind of a parody metal record. But the thing is, it was a parody metal record that turned into a cult classic, especially for Canadian metal. And I know that last year we had lost Fort Gurchin, again, the pile driver himself. So it's very sad. But he was able to actually work on this remaster for Shadow Kingdom, and I think, you know what, it was great. And he was even, I think, participated as well on the High Roller Records reissue of Stay Ugly, which I need to grab at some point too. So there we go. Now let's get back over to this position. Fuck. Alright, let's continue on because we're pretty much close to the end of this. So here we go. Now, question number 17. A band / artist you discovered through social media. Since YouTube is pretty much considered social media, this is the only band right now that I can really think of, and it's a very obscure German krautrock band, but it's Gift. And this is their debut self-titled album, and here's their second album and final album, Blue Apple. I know Metal Theologian actually showed both these albums on his videos in the past, but I don't know if I ever recall seeing these before, or at least remember him showing these. I know he has released a whole bunch of videos over the years, but I know apparently he did, because I went back at some point rewatching some of his older videos and stuff, especially on like the krautrock stuff and all of that. And was it Second Battle, I think, did like a reissue of this, I think this album right here. But I think it was just some obscure some obscure YouTube channel that was uploading a lot of full albums of some really obscure 70s rock albums and everything. And that I just saw the album cover for this first Gift album, and it just really it just made me want to check out this album, and I just loved what I heard. And to try and get these physically, it was going to be very difficult because they had went out of print, and some of the early CD reissues have gone up to like $30 or $40, you know. And I just don't want to pay that much for CDs. However, thankfully, this krautrock original album series stuff, which is Volume 2 and this is Volume 1, they all ended up, well, they pretty much issued those two albums as part of these sets, so I had to pretty much get these sets to actually get these two albums physically. But this also turned me on to some other really good, cool bands and stuff. And it's also got an early album from the pre-Lucifer's Friend band, Asterix. Because after that, they would turn into Lucifer's Friend. So that was a really cool addition as well. So there we go. So now on to question number 18, which is, where do you see your collection progressing in the next 5 years? Let me see this. If I pull this a little forward a little bit, I don't know if I was further away from that or not. To tell you the truth, I think it might stay the same, it might grow, or it might end up getting more condensed. We'll see. Because I'm probably going to end up selling a few things here and there. Like there's probably going to be some records I'm probably going to end up selling. Actually, there's one I will sell just because I don't like the pressing and everything, you know, the sound quality, I mean. You know, I don't really care for the sound quality of it, and I'll probably end up leaving sometime this year, you know, from my collection. So, but the thing is that I'll take some of that money and I'll probably put it towards other things that will then be newer additions to my collection. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing is I will probably sell certain things as well to replace them with newer copies, or, you know, or newer sounding copies or something like that. That's what I'll end up doing, and that's probably going to end up being the thing for the years to come. So probably in the next 5 years or so, the collection will probably be maybe slightly big, but there'll probably be some things that are gone. You know, they'll be gone from it and be missing from it. So that's just the way I see things at this point for me right now. But right now, everything's still up in the air. Because again, you know, who knows how much the records are going to end up being, you know, for the prices of records in the next 5 years. Who knows how the economy is going to be by the next 5 years. Are records going to be brand new records? Are they going to be $40 still? Are they going to be reaching up 50 or $60? You know, and we're already kind of seeing that anyways. So it's going to be very interesting how things are going to kind of progress within the next 5 years for the availability and the prices, and all of that. So that's just the way the things are going to be. All right, we kind of restart this up. Fuck. Damn it. Here we go. Continuing on, I got Mad Butcher on the CD player here. Metal Meat. That's what's playing. So there we go. That's just the way I see things. I'm gonna see things, So things. It's just gonna be very interesting, and we'll see again how everything is in the next 5 years. All right, so I'm gonna move on to the next question, which is question number 19. A new release you didn't buy this year based on price alone. Again, I also mentioned the High Roller Records reissue of Stay Ugly from Pile Driver. I own an original on Cobra. I own an original. I bought that for like $15. I think now you might find it for 30 or $50 now. But I got it for $15 10 years ago. So it was. I think it's just crazy. But I know I want to get that reissue just because I also want to get what that original mix or something sounds like. But right now, again, I think some people are offering like $20 for it now. And of course, the recent 2-disc reissue of the first Sirathungal, Frost and Fire, Raspin or Mad Monk has a copy, and it's priced at $23. I kind of want to pull the trigger on it, but again, I just don't. And I want to get it. But there's just something else that comes up, and again, it's going to eat up most of my money at this point, because everything's just been not very as easy as it is these days. But I know that I want to get it, and for all I know, at some point someone's gonna put it up on eBay for a little cheaper. We'll see. But again, shipping, it's probably gonna come up to about the same amount. So we'll see. But those are the ones I can think of right now. Okay, that based on price alone, that I just did not get. So all right, I'm gonna finally get on to the last question, which is a song that doesn't belong. Basically a song that lets an album down, and this is my pick, and that's this album right here from Pretty Maids, again, their second album titled Future World. Good album. It's definitely more melodic and a lot more keyboard laced compared to Red Hot and Heavy, but it's still very metal, and it still has a very nice sound to it, and I love it. However, the song Love Games is just, I don't think it's a very great song to have been put on the album in a way. I think it's way too hokey sounding, and I think it kind of lets the album down a little bit, especially it's a great album to begin with. But I don't know. I mean, I won't skip the song. It doesn't make me want to skip it, but it just, you kind of have to go from that song to get to Yellow Rain, which is oh my God, fantastic song. So that's all I'm going to leave there. I'm going to leave it there. So there it is, folks. There's my Metal Tag 2023. So for those who want to at least, if you're not yet subscribed to the Rock Scout, do so. He seems like a very cool guy, and I wish I had subscribed to him about a year ago. And I love I actually like some of the questions he comes up with for the Metal Tag. It's a lot more interesting, and I think it's a very cool, very, let's say, interactive kind of video. So that's all I'm going to be, that's where I'm going to end things, because right now it's getting way too long, and I need to kind of end things. So again, support the Rock Scout. I like the Metal Tag stuff, and I'll probably do this next year again. So there you go. This is Every Thrasher saying I am out, and I'll see you all later. Take care.